It doesn't seem long since the Triumph Street Triple range was last refreshed, but for 2023 there's a major revamp to the range, including new styling, more power and a high-end Moto2 limited edition model to sit above the Street Triple R and RS. When the Triumph Street Triple joined the lineup in 2007, it was little more than a Street Fighter version of the Daytona 675 sports bike, and few would have imagined that 15 years later we'd be welcoming a fourth-generation version encompassing a 3-bike range, while the Daytona is little more than a memory. In fact, the Street Triple has overhauled its ancestor to the extent that in 2022 it was a Street Triple that won the very event that lent its name to the Daytona 200. What's more, it's the machine that's finally seen Triumph entering Grand Prix competition, albeit as the single-make engine supplier to the Moto2 series rather than as a constructor. It's that Moto2 association that's led to the highest-spec Street Triple 765 yet, the new Street Triple Moto2 Limited Edition that leads the range in 2023. While the basics of the 765 cubic centimeters 3-cylinder engine are the same as before, Triumph has made substantial internal changes, including an increased compression ratio up from 12.65 to 1 to 13.25 to 1, and better inlet port design to improve flow. The combustion chambers are revised with new pistons to match, allowing the higher compression ratio to be used, and the conrads and gudgeon pins are also new. Redesigned camshafts increase valve lift, and the valves themselves are also new, while the intake trumpets are shorter than before. Deeper in the engine, the crankshaft gear, balancer gear, clutch gear and gearbox are all modified. The updates are thanks to developments driven by the Moto2 engine program, which sees a new generation of Triumph Triple enter service in 2023. Of course, the engine has to comply with Euro 5 emissions limits. There's a new exhaust system with a single catalyst that gives improved gas flow and reduces the exhaust's weight despite the need to be cleaner than ever before. If you opt for the base Street Triple 765R, you'll get a peak power of 120 PS/118.4 horsepower at 11,500 RPM, 2 PS more than the previous model, and perhaps more importantly peaking 500 RPM lower in the rev range. On the RS and Moto2 edition, the power increase is more substantial, rising 7 PS from 123 PS to 130 PS and arriving at 12,000 RPM. All versions have the same 80 Nm peak torque at 9,500 RPM, again representing a slight increase on the previous version. The frame and swing arm castings are unchanged from the previous model, but there are setup changes that mean the wheelbase and steering geometry are revised for the 2023 machines. On the base Street Triple R, the wheelbase is reduced from 1,405 mm to 1,402 mm, and the rake goes from 23.5 degrees to 23.7 degrees with 97.8 mm of trail instead of 98.3 mm. As before, there are a show of $41 million SFF BP forks with adjustable compression, rebound and preload, while the rear has a show of piggyback shock with the same adjustments. For the RS, the rear end is raised to give a 23.2-degree head angle, down from 23.9 degrees on the previous model, while trail is reduced from 100 mm to 96.9 mm and the wheelbase is reduced from 1,405 mm to 1,399 mm. Again, the actual suspension components are unchanged, with show of 41 mm BPF forks and an Öhlins STX40 shock with a full complement of adjustments available at both ends. The new Moto2 edition has more serious suspension and a more radical setup, not least thanks to the addition of low, clip-on bars that move the rider's weight forward and down. The rake is steeper still at 23 degrees, with a shorter 1,397 mm wheelbase and 95.3 mm of trail. The rear shock is the same Öhlins STX40 used on the RS, but for the Moto2 it's joined by Öhlins NAX30 forks fully adjustable, of course to suit its more track-oriented setup.